Hello and welcome back to Webcast News. I'm your host as always, James Etheridge, and if you've watched the past few videos you may notice on this intro there's no music in the background. And that's because in this video I'm going to be talking about the multiple Orlando shootings that have happened over the past weekend. The first one I'm going to talk about is actually the more recent one, which happened in the early hours of Sunday morning at Pulse Nightclub. In this massacre, 50 people have been killed, 53 more are injured in what is the biggest mass shooting in US history. Pulse was holding their upscale Latin Saturdays event, and it got to around 2 AM Sunday morning when a man entered the building, opened fire, shooting reports saying around 110 rounds, and then a hostage situation began. That lasted for about 3 hours, and at 5 AM SWAT teams and police stormed the building, killing the gunman. The murderer in this was 29-year-old Omar Mateen from New York, who is of Afghan descent. And as for his motive, there are two main ideas that have come out of this, and both have some decent backing and support to them. One, Mateen was a self-professed ISIS supporter. The FBI had interviewed him twice in the past, once in 2013 and once in 2014, in possible ties to terrorist organisations. But on both occasions they didn't have enough evidence to substantiate the claims, and he was released. And the reports also say shortly before the attack took place he rang 911 to pledge his allegiance to ISIS. After that, the Islamic State then claimed the attack on Al-Bayan, an IS allied station. So there is some pretty strong evidence saying it may have been a domestic terrorism attack. But there is a second idea on this as well, and it's that this attack may have been driven by an extreme case of homophobia. According to Omar's father, Omar got very offended recently whilst they were in Miami when he saw two men kissing. And also, Pulse is a very well-known gay nightclub in Orlando, making that all linked together, possibly a homophobia attack. And if I'm pushed for an opinion on this at the moment, I'm slightly leaning towards the second idea, that this was just a case of extreme homophobia rather than a terrorist attack. And after police and the SWAT team stormed the building, around 30 people were able to escape. So that's possibly 30 lives that would have been taken, saved. So if you want to put a slight silver lining on this story, I mean 30 lives were saved. It could have been an 80 death toll, but 50 is still incredibly high and completely pointless. It's also been reported that the killer bought the weapons under a week before he then carried out this attack, which comes back to the point of there's got to be tracking on the purchase of guns, and going back to the amendment and people saying you can't change the amendment, but surely you can amend an amendment. I know that this may not be a very popular opinion, but even Barack Obama has said that, well, he's said it before, but he's reiterated that there needs to be changes to the gun law. In no way is anyone saying completely get rid of guns in America and no one can have one. It's just that it needs changing to stop this kind of thing happening on a regular basis. Obama also, just after the event, said that this was an act of terror and an act of hate. Donald Trump has already pinned this attack on terrorists and terrorism in general, which I don't actually agree with at the minute. But I seem to disagree with Trump on everything. He may well be right on this. It's a 50-50 at the moment on what it may have been. But Trump's campaign also then called for Obama to resign after, in his speech about this horrific massacre, he didn't mention the words radical Islam, which I think is the wrong thing to be aiming at the moment. It shouldn't be an aim at getting rid of someone who is leaving anyway, but it should be aimed at, if this is a terrorist attack, going against the terrorists, not against each other. And then Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders both backed the LGBT communities, with Clinton saying that they now have millions of allies on their side. And after an incident like this, they absolutely do, me included. And then, moving on to the other shooting that happened over the weekend in Orlando, which was that of 22-year-old singer Christina Grimmie. If you don't actually know who Christina Grimmie is, she actually became famous on YouTube doing covers of well-known and popular songs. Her channel has over 3 million subscribers, and then she applied and got onto the American version of The Voice in 2014 and came third. However, this all leads to her performing at a concert on Friday night in Orlando. The performance goes as normal, and then she's outside signing autographs as she normally does. But then 27-year-old Kevin James Loibel approached her. He was armed with 2 handguns and a hunter's knife, and sadly shot Christina Grimmie. Now, as soon as the shooting happened, Marcus Grimmie, Christina's older brother, then leapt to a merch table and tackled Loibel down to the ground, and during the struggle, Loibel shot and killed himself. Tributes have flooded in for Christina as well, including Selena Gomez, who was doing a performance in which she then sang a tribute song called Nobody, and she broke down during that crying, which is unsurprising. And her brother Marcus also made a commemorative post on his Facebook page saying also anyone else who had memories of her to post their memories in the comment section of that post so that they could just build up this commemorative wall of her. And to Marcus Grimmie, you're an absolute hero in this, because you possibly saved the lives of hundreds of other people who were there. Because yes, seemingly he was only there to shoot Christina, but that could have opened up into a huge massacre, and his actions could have saved the lives of hundreds. So, to you, Marcus Grimmie, you are a hero. And as always with these kind of stories, thoughts go out to the friends and families of all of the victims in both the nightclub shooting and the Christina Grimmie shooting. It's just a terrible thing to talk about, but it's always in the news because it's the big thing that needs to be talked about. And on that note, that is it for this video. If you have any comments on either of the stories, make sure you put them in the comment section down below. I know it's not a video that you can really like in a way because of how sad the content of it is, but if you have liked the video, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe as well for hopefully some more better news. But I can only report what is the big news because it's what needs reporting. And as always, thanks for watching.